Here we go, episode number 10, Chris Opdyke Show. Today I have special guest in, friend of mine, Steve Zengel, Los Caidos Cigars. Steve, welcome. Thanks for coming in today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Right now, you're founder, CEO, national cigar brand. Getting into that, though, over the last 10, 12 years, you've had a pretty interesting kind of go about. You've done everything.
Think?
Yeah. You've done everything from financial advisor, Division I assistant basketball coach. You worked in a cigar shop as a retail associate, teacher, vice principal. You've done a lot over those last couple of years. Talk a little bit about how some of those things have helped you in your business world today.
Sure. My first teaching job, I didn't know what the hell I wanted to do in life. So, I knew I loved basketball. Played at St. Rose High School right out of here in Belmar. Went to Villanova University where basketball was a huge part of the community. I got there in '88, 3 years after Raleigh won a championship. So basketball was really, really ingrained in me. So one day I'm having a clinic and I invited some guys I used to help to talk. And Pete Curl's one of those guys, and we're sitting on the steps at St. Rose High School. And I said, "Here's your money." I gave him an envelope and he said, "Oh, you don't need to pay me in cash. Go get some cigars." And I was like, here's the head coach of Princeton University, wants to get paid in cigars. Like, these things got to be pretty good. So I go out and I get him a couple cigars. And he comes back and he basically told me a little bit about it. It was the first time I ever tried it. And I brought back 6. And he goes, "Stevie, I'm at Princeton. You went to Villanova." I said 5. You brought me 6. I said, "Coach, I never had one." He said, "What?" So he goes to his car, what I now know to be the cutter, lighter, and all that. He's doing all this shit to my thing, and he's all of a sudden, he's, here, puff on this. So my first cigar ever was on the steps of St. Rose High School. And then from that, he started inviting me out to work camps, clinics, and everything else a little more often. And one day, Billy Carmody, Joey Scott, guys I knew from Toms River, Belmar, St. Rose, and all that, were his assistant coaches. And we're on the basketball court. He goes, "Don't do this drill with the kids," because they used to swing around the sets, station sets. You go from 17-year-old kids in high school to kindergartners. And he's like, "Don't do this drill with the young kids. You're not good enough, and they're too young to learn." I was like, "F you, pal. Like, who the hell do you think you are?" "Yeah, you're Pete Curl. You ain't telling me. You don't know me." So I told the kids, free ice cream for the week if you get this drill, but we're going to do it. So we started doing it. And later that night, he called me into the back room where all the guys like up front drink beer, pizza, and all that shit. It always goes on at summer camp. So all of a sudden, Joey Scott comes out and goes, "Z, Coach wants to see you." And I'm like, "Oh, Joey, it's really been nice working with you." Like, I'm out of here. So he brings me back. He goes, "I thought I told you not to do that drill." I said, "You did." He said, "Why'd you do it?" I said, "Because they have the capability to get it. They're young kids, but they're not stupid kids." I said, whatever. He said, "You did a great job. You should become a teacher in life." And that was it. So I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I went to Villanova for finance, business, and everything else like that. I just wasn't feeling it. And when he said that, it's almost like he's right. I love doing this. And why not just pursue it as a career? So I immediately went to Monmouth University, got a Master of Arts in Teaching, and started teaching and coaching basketball in high school, Wall, in 1994. Loved it, and that's what really got me started. You start asking questions, how did my other experience? So that went into, I was an educator all up until probably 2001, and that's when I lost my best friend in 9/11. And I was teaching at St. Rose High School at the time. Not really, so many people, so many friends and family members that it was just, couldn't be around that environment anymore. And he was a trader. He was a trader in the World Trade Center. So I said, "You know what? I'm going to honor his life and I'm going to use my finance degree from Villanova. I'm going to get into it." So I started working at Morgan Stanley during a hiring freeze right after 9/11. So school year ended 2002 in the summer, 2002 in the summer. I went right to Morgan Stanley, and they were great people there. Tim Riley, the manager, Doug Ball, Roger Boyd, just phenomenal people. Gave me some tremendous training in sales, made me read a lot of books and do everything else like that. And then I propelled, I was part of the NFL Players Association as a trusted financial advisor. I was the guy to always give the talks to the Final Fours every year for the National Association of Basketball Coaches. So I was in that sports community. Those guys helped a lot. So I started doing sales on high levels and was fortunate enough and blessed enough to receive an award for a top producer in the country. I was number 9 of everybody with 3 years or less of experience at Morgan Stanley. They flew me out to Dallas, all that happy horse shit, gave me an award and all that. So it was great, but the training I got in sales from Morgan Stanley really carried. And then, fast forward, I left Morgan Stanley, went to another firm. There was a change in management. I didn't agree with the new management position, so I left Same stuff at David Lerner Associates, where I was, part of the NFL Players Association of basketball and everything else. I was the guy, and then ended up leaving David Lerner because one of the guys I was coaching, Jason Thompson, in the summer league, did really, really well, like 12th overall pick in the 2008 draft. Well, the guy from Monmouth, Kevin Nickelberry, that was an assistant, noticed the work I'd been putting in with a lot of people. Listen, I didn't make Jason Thompson the player he is. He made me the coach I was. But people took notice and like, hey, if he can handle high-level athletes like this, maybe, he knows a little bit of basketball. I've seen his high school teams play. So he brought me down to Hampton University, and where the education and coaching and salesmanship, it led to recruiting and, everything else.
You're selling the program.
You're selling the program, you're selling the coaching staff, you're selling the vision of victory. So we were able, my Northeast area was, Jersey, Philly, New York. So we were able to land, with the help of Buck Joyner, the current head coach, on my lead, with the help of some guys in the area too, Mike Tewitt and Chuck Funches. So we didn't make they got there. They ended up going to school at Hampton University, but we didn't make the NCAA tournament. So they fired us. That's when I started working for Boo Williams and a retail cigar shop down there, Scott Regina at Emerson's. Great experience. He's president of the TAA, or Tobacco Associate of America group now. He's a board member, secretary for the IPCPR. So I didn't realize I stepped in some shit. Like, I got very, very, very lucky working for Scott, and I had no idea. And it turns out he was born at Center State Freehold. So that was just a Jersey connection we had. So he helped me out, taught me the industry, and just phenomenal. And that'll play a big part later in the story. So that's how I think education, salesmanship, all that type of stuff really, really impacted me, because after we didn't make the NCAA tournament, we were fired, but Buck got the head job. He asked me to stay, or offered, let me say this, he offered me an opportunity to stay because I had started there with him. And I just said, Buck, it's college basketball. You got to get your guys in here. I'm not one of your guys. I get that. Thanks for being nice, but you go get your people, man. So he brought in some longtime friends, family members, stuff like that. He did what I would have done as a coach. So he's very successful. But so with those kids, they ended up going to the NCAA tournament. And I was like, shit, I should have stayed, So they're great guys. Still talk to them every now and then. And then with that high-level experience in recruiting, sales, education, everything else, I just said, I have a doctorate degree in education from Rutgers. Like, I pursued that and all. That's when I think you and I met in 2010,
Yeah.
Right? So I had to finish up. After we got fired, the school called and said, you got to finish this degree up, and we're kicking you out, and you're so close. Why would you do this? So I left my family down there, finished the doctorate degree, went back there, and then when my wife and I said, all right, listen, there's nothing keeping us down here anymore. You're not working this D1 job. Let's go back home. She said, what do you want to do? I said, I want to open up a cigar shop. And she goes, are you serious? I said, yeah. And she goes, okay, get it done. So I moved, I came back up here in February 2012, opened up a little place in Seaside Heights called Beach House Cigars. It was right next to Hemingway's, 500 feet off the ocean. We were kicking ass. I mean, we were doing great. We started with 9 boxes of Cortez cigars from Eatontown here, where the podcast shared universe podcast studios is, right up the street. Nobody else would carry them because they saw this conflict of interest. They're like, dude, you make your own cigars, you want me to carry you, but yet you're also a retail store. Like, what the hell? I said, dude, nobody's going to think, should I go to Eatontown or Seaside for a cigar? Yeah. I said, let's just open up. So I started with 9 boxes. Everything we sold just went right back. So we started with 9, and then by the time the fall came, Labor Day, that summer, we built it up to about 300, maybe 360 boxes of cigars to be able to sell in the store. So that was, we just reinvested everything, never took a pay salary, paid the employee shit because, you were one.
Yeah, it was still a good job. Still a good summer job.
Yeah, so we were just rolling, and everything was going great. I was so blessed to have some great events. And as a matter of fact, today, Chris, I had a honor for you and your boy, Scott. This is one of these shirts from when we were Beach House Cigars in Seaside, signed by National Championship Coach Scott Goodale.
Yeah.
So, Goody, congratulations, baby. I still got this. Have your back always, baby. Thanks for coming to do that event that year. So we continued to crush it. I was being asked to do all the golf outings for Joe Namath, Andre Reed, just everybody in the area, and it was really, really just touching because I had those sports connections. Now they knew I did cigars. So I was the guy to get called out to George Lopez, the comedian I did in L.A. So that was kind of cool, and I felt like we were rolling. And then that little thing happened in October called Hurricane Sandy,
yeah,
and wiped that shit out in a city second. So I went from that to nothing. And because, you know, this is one of the entrepreneurial lessons, you want to do everything, save a dime, bootstrap, shoestring. And I was like, oh, flood insurance? They're like, yeah, you're about 50 feet outside the flood zone. And I couldn't believe it because I was 500 feet off the ocean. So I was like, is it mandatory? Like I lived in Point Pleasant. It was mandatory I had flood insurance or whatever the hell they told me and my wife. So I was like, is it mandatory for me to get this flood insurance? And they said, no. I said, and let's save a couple bucks and not do it. Well, $120,000 later, right?
Yeah.
You look back and say, shit, I should have gotten it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. When you were opening up that store, that's got to be a little bit of a paperwork process, just getting all your ducks in a row. Talk a little bit about just opening up the shop, getting the permits, getting the paperwork, right? Isn't there like a tobacco?
Yeah.
So just talk about a little bit about the paperwork piece and just getting the shop up and running from zero, getting rent, all of that piece.
So, yes. For the listeners, I'm going to talk about it because if it can help them, that's great. At the end of the day, you have Google, dig and dive.
Yeah.
You know, dig and dive and just figure out what it is you have to do. So I could spend an hour literally just talking about that process, right? You Google it. What do I need to open up a cigar shop in the state? It leads you down one path. Then all of a sudden you're calling the phone and you're on hold for 50 freaking hours of 5 different departments. They're all shuffling you around because nobody knows what the hell you're really talking about. And then you finally get the person. You got to fill out this form, this form, this form. Then you fill it out the wrong way. It goes back. So we could literally talk for an hour on that. So all I would say to any investor that wants to get stuff done, you just do a deep dive. All the information is at your fingertips. If you just want to spend the time to research it, even the public library before Google, there's things you can look up. You can also go to the community and ask for help. It's harder to go to a competitor to say, hey, dude, I see you have a cigar shop. I'd like to open up one 5 miles away. Can you help? Call somebody out of state. Be like, listen, this is what I'm thinking about doing. What's the process? And they're going to tell you, well, listen, every state has its own thing. Or you can even go 60 miles away in your own state. But the people are helpful, especially in the cigar industry. I found in this industry. I don't know how it is. I can't speak to anybody else's experience in other industries. But if that's a crappy answer, I apologize for that. Let me just say this. It's a pain in the ass. It's more time consuming than you imagine. It's frustrating as all hell. Buckle down and just get it done.
Yeah.
That's it. And then ask for help. That's the one thing I'd say. Don't be too proud to ask for help because people always look like, dude, you have a doctorate degree. Don't you know this? It's like, I know one thing about a very, very small topic. I could tell you anything you want to know about athletic expenditures in New Jersey high schools. Yeah. After that, have at it. Yeah. So I don't know everything. And I think if you approach everything with a humble attitude and say, listen, I don't know, I need to learn, you're going to be fine. Because there's so much I need to learn. I still need to learn every day. So I just think if you're a startup person, you're trying to figure out the state licenses and all that happy horse stuff about whatever business you run, just go dig in and learn. That's it. I mean, the public library has so many great books on so much stuff,
When you were opening up the shop, like you said, I know it's like hurdle after hurdle and paperwork after paperwork. You had to have a couple victory moments. Like, yes, I finally did it. What were some of those in opening up that first shop in Seaside Heights?
Well, a lot of people will offer this on podcasts. I've heard it mentioned on some guests from your podcast, right? Ask for forgiveness before you ask for permission.
Yeah.
So you just go ahead and do with the best, knowing you're not trying to hurt or circumvent the system, but if you just try to honestly pursue the best path possible and going forward, and you make a couple of mistakes, I think the state and people like that will work with you. Building inspectors, you have it all, right? But if you go in there saying, oh, screw that, I see that, F them, wait till, that's not cool, you know what I mean? You're going to get found out anyway and want to be a jerk about it. So I always went doing the best possible thing I can. What the aha moments, sure. When you get on the internet and it's like, oh my gosh, I can print my business certificate now. I did it. I filed articles of incorporation for the state of New Jersey. I'm a real business now. That's cool. Those are the aha moments. But the biggest aha moments I had at Beach House Cigars is and Seaside looked at me and they flat out said, hey, bro, we're going to do we'll let you in. We're going to do the inspections. We're going to delay them a little bit. Get open by St. Patty's Day. We don't want this to be an empty storefront. You're next to Hemingway's. And I said, dude, that's 2 weeks. And your St. Patty's Day, by the way, is in February. It's early.
Yeah.
He's like, whatever you could do, dude, I'd appreciate it. Now, this is the state building or the Seaside building inspector, right? You want to make those people happy.
Yeah.
I have pictures on the Facebook page for Beach House Cigars. I literally, Chris. Now my family was in Virginia. I moved up early. The kids had to finish school, so I'm home alone and living with my mother in Greenbrier Retirement Community in Brick. Right, as a older man, not fun. I love my mother, so appreciative, but you understand. You're laughing now. Your coffee's coming through your nose right now. So it's sitting there like, so it's not the ideal life, but you just do as an entrepreneur. And I hate calling myself an entrepreneur. I let people label anybody what they want to. So as a guy who was very earnest in starting his own business, that's the type of stuff you have to do, right? So I'm staying with mom, and I was on my hands and knees every night because the seaside, some of the rental places, people don't care about them that much. This was right after the Jersey Shore show and all that happy stuff was. So whoever put the grout in this thing didn't give a shit about it. They just poured it all over the tile. So I'm literally scraping every 12 by 12 tile of the grout because I didn't have the money to just rip everything out and start anew. And this guy just told me to open in 2 weeks and we'll be really nice to you for the rest of your existence.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right. So I did whatever it took. But dude, when I tell you there are pictures of me there, 3 o'clock, 3:30 in the morning, and then all of a sudden just sometimes I slept there. Sometimes I'd sleep across the street at the hotel there. Because I knew the guy, he was a big cigar smoker. I would barter. I'd say, dude, let me have your couch for 2-3 hours tonight. I don't have a nice couch in the shop yet, but I don't want to go back to my wake my mother up in Greenbrier, right, with a little 80-year-old security guy saying whatever. It was a pain in the ass. So I did. I bartered cigars for a couple hours on the couch every night, and then we opened. I got it open. St. Patty's Day was the first day we opened. I got it done for the town. They were very, very happy, and I never heard from them again.
That's pretty good. It's a pretty good story. Now the shop's open. Let's just go right, to summer. You're open like 7 days a week. Talk a little bit about just daily operations in the store.
Yeah, so daily operations, Seaside's an interesting place for people who saw the show, Jersey Shore, Snooki's Situation, and all those people. I don't know them by name. It's a crazy atmosphere, and it's highly populated in the summer. Nobody's there in the winter. So I knew that I had only a small window of opportunity, pretty much from Memorial Day to Labor Day, to really get this done. So, and it was right next to a bar, Hemingway's, which was hugely popular. Vinny Crapperot, a great guy. But they would have lines of hundreds of people coming in. Well, that line of 100 people spilled over into the front of my shop. And if you remember, they had a little alcove.
I do.
So you'd have beer bottles. It would smell like piss. Throw up. Like, you'd have all that shit right at my front door. Mm-hmm. So I'd have to go and clean that up, right? So if you're open to 10 and you want all that cleaned up in time for customers to really think it's an appropriate place to come in and smoke a cigar, you need to be done cleaning that at 9 because it needs an hour to air out. You know what I mean? So I'd go in there at 7 o'clock in the morning. I'd go to the beach, take a little walk. Sometimes my kids would be there because I want to teach them how to work hard. And they were off for school in the summer. So they were like, what was this, 7 years ago? So they were 7 years, 8 years old, So I was like, hey, I'll give you a roll of coins. You can play the games later today. You get to see the beach. We'll hang out for a little bit. But once that shop opens, you're working. Like, you're sweeping, you're doing something. They were little kids, they complain. So, like, they'd bring a tissue, throw it in the garbage, think they're helping dad.
Yeah.
But I didn't care. I just wanted them to start learning it. So 7 o'clock, you're working your ass off, just making sure the place is cleaned up, tidy enough for customers and presentable. You go through the humidors, you make sure all the cigars, the humidification machines are working, you make sure the register, you open it up, you have enough cash, you have enough change. Because if you don't, you got to hit the bank at 9 o'clock before you open at 10. Like, it's like running any other type of business. And what really, really helps is checklist. So before, I'm only learning a lot of this from Matty Catania, John Hill, my former players, and now have 25 Jersey Mike's franchises. So I've learned a ton from them. But before, when I was a hobby with the Hope, you just kind of wing it. Like, I'll go in, I'll do this, and you forget some stuff, So now, so what I learned is everything just on a checklist, and the more systems you have in place, and the bigger of a routine that you follow, gives less room for error, and you find that you have more free time to do other things.
So, you have the shop going. Sandy hits. You have to shut it down. And then you open up a second retail location. Well, not a second location, but you open up a new location in Wall. What was the time frame between the shop closing up in Seaside and then you getting the shop fully operational in Wall?
Yeah. So, and going back real quick, I forgot to answer the second part of your question. So that was just the first couple hours of operation, right? 7 to 10. And then you had to sell cigars all day. And because you want to hit the bar scene at night in the summer, you're there till 1 or 2 in the morning. So again, I'm bartering cigars for couch time, or you know, going home to see mom in Greenbrier at 2 in the morning,
Yeah.
3 in the morning, getting up at 5 to do it all over again. So that's really the regimen of
It's a long
doing
day.
shit yourself, long day. So fast forward, we get wiped out by Sandy, and I used to have the doctorate degree hanging behind my register. Yeah, you remember that? Yeah, so it was my way of a little fu, because everybody's like, dude, you have a doctorate. All you got to do is sell cigars. Like, why would you want to do that? Like, just shut the hell up. Like, let me live my life. You live yours. I don't say shit about yours. Don't say anything about mine. So I did. I put it behind the register, and then so one guy saw that, and he said, "Is that real?" And I was like, "Yes, it's real." So he told me what he did. He was a superintendent of a local school system, and I had known him previously, in a prior life, from Villanova. And he was like, "Listen, I'd love for you to work in my school system." I said, "Your school system? What the hell are you doing in life?" He goes, "I'm a superintendent." I said, "Get the hell out of here." So I was like, "Listen, man, I'm on my path. I don't want to go back into the industry. I love education. I love teaching. I love helping. But I just started this. It wouldn't be, I had one partner, business partner at the time. I was like, it wouldn't be fair to him. It wouldn't be fair to anybody for me to give up this soon and go pursue something else." And he looked at me, he said, "You're not going to sell any cigars in Seaside in the winter." And he was damn right. I knew it. So I had that in the back of my head. And I said no, politely, went for a tour of the campus and all that other stuff. I said no. And I was so appreciative. Well, after Sandy hit, he called me again. He said, "How about now?" And I said, "I would love the opportunity." So it was a lifesaver, absolute lifesaver. I worked my ass off. And it was hard because I went in there in January of 2013. I started my first day, January 4th, as a high school vice principal. And it was funny, the first day I was there, you had the police and parents and kids on the steps Monday morning from a fight on the front yard of their house that happened Saturday night. And Doug Corbett, the principal, started laughing. He goes, "It's yours, Z. That's your alphabet. You're half of the alphabet. They're your letters." I was like, "Good morning, everybody." Like, welcome to the job. But it was interesting because, taking the kids and that school system through the aftermath of Sandy. So we had, I'll always remember this. I could tell you the teacher's name. I won't, out of just being a mature adult. Science teacher writes up a kid for falling asleep in class. Now I bring the kid in, find out he's living in Manchester. For those listeners, it's a couple towns away. Our school started at 6:45 a.m. All right. He's brushing his teeth outside using a garden hose because he didn't want to wake his new host family, his cousins, aunts, uncles, up that early in the morning. So he's a little tired by the time he starts school. He fell asleep. She wanted to give him detention. I was like, "Are you kidding me? Like, just let the kid nod off a little bit. He'll make it up after school. Maybe not a formal detention. Call it extra help, whatever you want to do." Right? No. I refused to do that. So going through that and being so bothered as a vice principal, right? Because you want to be there to support the teachers. But you're there for the kids. No school would exist without kids. So I struggled with that. I really, really struggled with that. But it taught me empathy. And empathy is one of the 3 pillars on which the new company is founded. So I really appreciated being in that vice principal role because you had to understand every situation from everybody's perspective, right? So if a kid came in with a knife, you had to understand, why is the kid pissed off with the knife? Who is he after? Like, how is that person feeling? The teachers feel threatened and harmed. Like, you have to help them. The maintenance building for school safety, the local police. I mean, and that's maybe a drastic situation, but even take the example of the kid brushing his teeth outside. You have to understand it from everybody's perspective. Everybody. So every decision I made as a high school vice principal, like, people would maybe sometimes say, "Oh, he's taking long on that decision." It's because I'm thinking about 20 other people. It's not just about you. It's about everybody involved: the parent, the kid, the teacher, just everybody. So that really, really taught me. So when I came back and did Los Caidos recently last year, and I know we'll get to that, empathy was one of the 3 pillars on which we were founded, and that really came to me through my service as a vice principal for 3 years.
So once again, something else outside of you being the CEO of this new company helping you.
Oh, 100%. 100%. So after Sandy, that's what I did. I started working in the school system. I got there on January 4th, 2013. I knew I wanted to do the cigar shop. I was making a little bit of more money now. So I opened up in August of 2013. I found a place in my hometown of Wall. Small place, the old Miles Ahead building. And it was just not ideal. Ceiling was low. It must have been built in like 1913. It was just an old. It leaked all the time, but it was freestanding, self-parking. Nobody was going to bitch about cigar smoke. I said, and it was in my hometown. I said, I know the building well, know the landlord. This is great. Let's just move in there. So we did.
So you moved into the wall location. How long was the wall location operational going on?
So started in August 2013, and I want to give a shout out to somebody to talk to you about entrepreneurship, being blessed. Anybody out there who's trying to do their own shit to say nobody ever helped them along the way, I will tell you every day is full of shit. Like, you get help along the way, whether you're appreciative enough to see it or not is on you. But I don't think anybody gets to where they are alone, and without a doubt. So I opened up in August 2013, and Scott Regina, my former boss from Emerson Cigars of Virginia, calls. He says, "Hey man, heard what happened." I said, "Yeah." He goes, "How's everything going?" I said, "It's not. I'm trying to get going, doing it on every way possible. Like, dude, I'm applying because now I have the high school vice principal. I can apply for credit cards. So I am maxing out every damn piece of plastic because I hadn't been in long enough to really build up that savings, and I just lost over 100 grand in Seaside. So it's like I have nothing but credit, right?" So Scott calls, heard what happened. "What do you need?" I said, "Scott, I need a whole damn shop." He said, "Really, what do you need?" I said, "Really, a whole shop." I said, "I was wiped out, couldn't keep anything. I'm building from scratch. I'm applying for credit cards. Like, whatever I need to do, I'm going to do it." So a week later, $30,000 of inventory shows up at my door with a note that says, "Pay me when you can." So, you know what I'm saying? Like that, who does that?
Yeah,
So
not a lot.
that's what I was telling you in the cigar, like so many people in the cigar industry are so helpful. So I mean, I'm ready to do it now, but I won't. But I just broke down crying, when I got it. So it was really, really cool. It was really, really special. And then, we were up and running from that point on. We could. So that was 2013, and then we did a few sales, and at 14 we absolutely crushed it. We did over 250, almost 300 in sales. So for a little ass cigar shop, 700 square feet with 8-foot ceilings, that's
Sales is pretty
good. You're humping it, right?
Yeah.
So, an Ashton Premium House Selection let me put my band around the house cigar, so that was one of our best sellers. And I was carrying a lot of the stuff you couldn't get in the area, like Viaje, Luzione, really, really, really good, highly ranked sticks that were considered a little boutique at that time. So that's what I built my business around, because you could go to the store in Brick, you could go ShopRite is selling cigars now, so I had to try to find what can I bring my customers in here for that they can't get anywhere else.
Yeah.
So we did great 2014 and 2015. What started happening is a lot of my time was to getting directed away from the shop because the vice principal. I was more of a hobby with the hope. I lost sight of all those checkpoints. I hired managers to do that, and whatever. It just wasn't working. It was too expensive because now that I couldn't be there, my payroll's going up. The rent was a hell of a lot more than a little place in Seaside because you had the traffic counts. You're a freestanding building with the parking lot for 30 spaces. So, I'm sitting there saying, "Hey, I'm making over $100,000. This is great. I just applied for plastic. I got the inventory." I lost sight of everything. I tell this to everybody, I was a hobby with a hope. I was not a true business. So, that it was good, and I enjoyed it, and I started seeing things going south when I started looking at the expense side of the ledger. So the revenue was great, but the expense on this ledger, the inventory costs, the tobacco taxes, the rent, the employment, it was like, yeah, I'm making a couple $100,000, but I'm spending a couple $100,000. I was like, shit.
Yeah.
So it was starting to go sideways in greater expense. So then what happened was also during that time, so I told you before in Seaside, I was the guy getting called to do the Joe Namath golf outing and George Lopez golf. So I was doing all these high-level profile golf outings. People started hearing about it. They saw it. And then in the time, you had Officer Christopher Matlos brutally murdered in Lakewood, Mark Castellano, now the move-over law out of his unfortunate, horrible death on 195 in my current hometown of Howell. So you had that going on. I had a retired PD working in my shop, Frank Lancelotti, And because of that, we started constantly getting asked to go do golf outings, number one. Number two, that benefit family members of fallen police officers, mostly, not firefighters at that point. So, we had done one cigar prior to that. Let me back up a little bit. I went to Villanova. I told you I know Riley Massimino, Jay Wright, and those guys. So we wanted to do a cigar because Riley used to smoke cigars, and we were going to raise money for pediatric cancer. So I said, all right, it's a great idea. Let's collaborate on this. I met with Coach a few times at his summer house down in Avalon and whatnot. And I started calling the factory, Casa Fernandez, and I said, hey, can you make the cigar for me? They said, no. And I said, what do you mean? They're like, you're too small. We don't know you. No. So I called second time, third time, just once a month. And they kept saying no. So at about the seventh or eighth month of them saying no, I said, he said, you're not going to stop, are you? I said, no. And I said, here's where you need to understand. I said, you're a Latino that's living in Miami, coming over from another country. You don't know guys from Jersey. I said, I'm 6'7", 290, and I'm starting to get pissed off that you're constantly telling me no. I'm not stopping. But at the 12th month, you get a personal visit, and I don't think you want that. Now, of course, I'm busting balls, totally kidding, thinking this guy watches The Sopranos every day. He didn't, right? So next month, he comes to me, and he visited me, and I was like, oh my gosh, so I put everything on the table. I said, take one, they're free. I went out to the Starbucks. I got coffee and cake pops to celebrate. Now, mind you, I left my shop alone for like 45 minutes while I did this.
Yeah.
So I come back, and I was like, did anybody come in? They're like, yeah, we just gave them all free cigars. I said, awesome. I said, so anybody coming in, I literally gave free cigars out that day so I could spend time talking to them in the shop. And then I said, what is it? I said, I was kidding around. And he said, yeah, we learned you were kidding around, but we didn't think so at first. So we just had a huge hoot over that. We were laughing and everything else. I said, well, what is it going to take? He said, dude, you're the crazy uncle at our Thanksgiving table. You just did it. We're going to make your cigar. So I was tickled pink. We did 500 boxes of the cigar for Riley Massimino, started selling that out of our shop online. And then when the guys started coming in from a police force saying, Mike Heaton from Middletown saying, hey, we're going to have a golf outing at Pebble Creek and come out, the Farmingdale Fire Department, hey, we're going to do this. Can you come out? Berkeley Township, hey, we're going to do this. Can you come out? It's to benefit our 501c3 and family members, Mountainside, the two. So now I'm all over the state of New Jersey. And I was probably doing 2 outings a week. And it was only me. So every time I went to an outing, I either had to pay someone to manage or to shop, or as we started doing more outings, I'm paying somebody to represent Beach House Cigars at these outings. It was just crazy, the volume, the asks I was getting to go service. And I was tickled pink because I was helping others.
Mm-hmm.
So we did that all of 2013, 14, and into 15. And then I was lamenting because, Chris, these families needed 20 grand, and I'm giving $200 at the end of the day. It felt so insignificant. So I'm bitching about it. And Jersey Mike's was the corporate headquarters right up the street. So a lot of those guys used to come in and smoke cigars. Matt Catania, Brian Summers, John Tez at the time. So they were like, dude, stop bitching. I was like, well, what do you think I should do? And they're like, and again, you have a doctorate degree. You don't know? And I was like, what are you talking about? So they're like, shut this shit down. Stop being a vice principal. Shut this stuff down. Go sell cigars nationally like we do through Sub Sandwiches. Give $1 back, and you'll be able to help a ton more people. And that's what I did. I didn't give it much further thought. I resigned being a vice principal. And before I could shut the shop down, I wanted to use that license and have the stuff delivered to me. So we created with Aganor Salif, formerly Casa Fernandez, who did the Riley Massimino Perfection cigar. I said, guys, I'm going to come out with this thing called Los Caidos. I brought in some of the police community members. I sat down with Frank Lancelotti, and we really kicked it around and said, all right, this is what the cigar is going to be. This is going to be the blend. I went to Miami back and forth a few times because they would fly the leaf in from Nicaragua. We would do the blends in Miami, and it was just humping it, whenever, anytime you had. And then we said, okay, this is the cigar, Los Caidos. It got delivered to the shop. I was fortunate that the first person to put an order in was Cigars International, one of the largest online tobacconists in the country. So they put it in their magazine. They started carrying it, got the word out there, and Los Caidos was now on the map.
So you kind of led into my next 2 questions about how that all came about and the concept of the business. Something you've done different than most of the other entrepreneurs I've had in shop is most of the other guys kind of started with that shoestring budget. You kind of did it the other way. You went out and did a round of investing.
Correct and incorrect. So I started on a shoestring, right? I told you I did everything, the credit cards. Scott helped me out. I was using my personal pay income. And the result of that is we ordered 500 boxes of Los Caidos, the first run, okay? And it did great. But when you sell to an online retailer, you just want, dude, my life is on credit cards. Any income is going to be great. So they're like, well, we're not going to pay you X, we're going to pay you Y. And I'm like, all right, great. On 100 boxes times Y, that's great. That's how much revenue. So you just take the money in, and I wasn't thinking clearly. I wasn't looking at the numbers to see how it made fiscal sense.
Yeah.
I just like, it's money coming in, I'm doing it. I didn't realize, like, profit margin, right? Oh, yeah. Well, didn't you go to business school in Villanova? Dude, I was 21. I was hungover. I wasn't concerned about profit margins in 1992. You know, like, I say that now. I should have been, but it's just me. I wasn't. So, and nothing against the school. That was totally on me and my responsibility. I've really had a fun social time at Villanova University. Love the school. Close with them now. Always go back. Very dear to my heart. But at that time, I didn't care about profit margin. Sorry. So then I learned about it, right? So I sold the boxes to Cigars International. I started selling them online, but I didn't realize the profit margin after I took my cost of goods out and the price at which I sold it to them for. I was losing money. It wasn't even enough to cover the credit card payments, the lights, the rent. It was great to sell and get it out there, but I wasn't making enough money. And then to compound that, two things. Got on my motorcycle in October, went cross country in 13 days, Jersey to Los Angeles and back to raise awareness, because in July, I think that year, in 16, the guys from Dallas were brutally murdered, 5 guys, 9 injured, downtown. And I was like, what the hell's going on where people are just open firing? I mean, Christopher Mallows was brutally murdered by a gangbanger, shot in the temple while he's having a coffee in his car. Like, guy just walks up and kills him. I was like, you shitting me? Like, what is going on in this country? So I just felt like something had to be done. So I didn't tell anybody I was doing it, didn't market it, didn't anything. I just went cross country. 2 guys followed me in a truck and tried to raise awareness. Any town I went in, hey, what are you doing here? You know, hopefully people will follow it, social media, which is another lesson learned. Like, just because you're doing shit, if you don't tell anybody about it, they don't know you're doing it, you know? So a lot of people, so I struggled with it because I want to remain humble and appreciative. And, you know, I was too humble to a point where I didn't tell anybody what I was doing. So nobody knew. So
it's tough. That's tough, right? Trying to like really throw it out there and tell people what you're doing, because it's like, I have a problem with this with the show I do now. I'm not a braggadocious kind of guy.
Correct.
So it's really hard to go out there and say, hey, watch this, listen to this, or listen, I'm going on this ride, check it out. It's tough.
It is tough. And then I talked with the guys at Harley Davidson, right? So they were flat out pissed. This year they found out about it. So they found out about it Thanksgiving of 2018 that I took the ride in 16. And he was like, so Charles Robinson was like, dude, how would you expect anyone to donate and help out if they don't know you're doing it? Same with you. You're trying to help people learn about business. How do you help people, Chris? But first you have to provide a value. And I really felt like after getting kicked in the balls with Sandy and becoming a hobby with the hope and not really a good business owner, that I had very little value to give. Like, what value was I really giving by getting on my bike, going cross country, other than the fact that I cared and I thought shit should change? So I think you're in a much stronger position of telling people what you're doing if you truly believe that you're giving something of value. So I am clearly at that point in my life now where I know I'm giving a tremendous value in helping people. So I am getting a lot better at sharing it and getting it out there. But that lesson I learned with the margin, selling it to online discounters, money wasn't there, started losing it, and then all this shit's on credit going up and up and up. I was getting sideways fast, number one. Number two, didn't tell anybody I was doing a ride. Huge mistake. I understood very quickly the importance of marketing, but also providing value in helping others. Like, that's what businesses are. If you could find a way, the only question, how can I help a customer fix a problem? When you can answer that, you have a business. Right, but a lot of people I think want to start a business because something they like the shoe girl, right? Stimp, right? That girl Alexis or whatever her name is, and then she has the shoe fairy.
The shoe fairy.
That was a problem, right? I heard that whole show. I was amazed because my wife's in that fitness, industry. Yeah, sure. She lifts weights and everything else. She's not one of the models and all that, but she was interested in it. And then to understand it, like, you have to have a clear plastic shoe, it rubs up against you, and then your foot falls, so you have to make it like she's fixing a real problem for your boy Noah, Clean Eats, right? He's fixing problems for people. Like, what do you need help with in life? I want to fix it. That's a business. Yeah. Just because you want to, I know you were into RC cars and everything else, you might want to start an RC car stadium. Well, what problem for people are you trying to fix? Are you trying to fix their free time? Like what? So I'm amazed by business owners, and that's what I really tried to figure out is what am I trying to fix for other people? Like what am I really doing as far as helping us?
Yeah.
So on those Caidos cigars, we give $1 back on every cigar sold to family members of fallen police officers and firefighters. That's my help. So that's the problem I fix. So if you want to enjoy some relaxation time, knowing you're helping a family and changing their life, we're for you.
Yeah.
So
Talk a little bit about that. You said every cigar you sell, you give $1 back to the cause. A lot of people, as soon as they hear that, and I think like this, oh, he gives $1 back. Does he really?
Yes.
So talk a little bit how you made it really secure, really transparent for your company that if I buy cigars from you, I know that dollar is going back to the cause. So talk a little bit about how that dollar goes back and the transparency behind it so people who support your business know the money's going there.
Yep. So the third mistake I made in that year in 16 was that around, a lot of the golf outings, they have their own respective 501c3s, and around Christmas time, they all wanted auction items and all that stuff. So not only did I screw up with the margin to online discounters, not only did I not tell people what I was doing because I didn't feel like I was providing enough value, but number three, I gave too much shit away for free. I was giving boxes of cigars away for free. Oh, you need help auctioning off this? Go ahead and do that. Go ahead and do this. I got hundreds of boxes for free. I can't sustain a business giving stuff away for free all the time. So what I realized is maybe I could sell cigars, and give $1 back. So we had that brand promise. We sold 4,500 cigars on that first order of 500 boxes, right? So a lot of stuff we gave away, so we did not sell it, per se. And that was my donation, that was my give back. So when we came back in October, we gave out $4,500, $2,500 to Pat Colligan, New Jersey, and the NJPBA, Survivor Welfare Fund, $1,000 to FOP5 in Philly, Stephen McNesby and those guys. John McNesby, Stevie Weiler, and them. And then 1,000 locally to FMB 68 Long Branch, Butchie Guzzi, Tommy, and all them. So very, very proud of that we kept our brand promise from 2016, gave that money out. We're physically giving it out in checks. There's no bullshit. If Pat Colligan, if I'm at a state meeting in Atlantic City with 400 officers and I'm presenting a check, you pretty much know I gave it to him, and behind the scenes he cashed it. You know what I mean? So that's one level of transparency. But now that we're a bigger company, I did get investment from some investors in 2018. So to bring you up to that question real quick, 2016, after I started going sideways, when we gave out the last boxes and sold the last boxes, December 31st, 2016, I took off. I realized I had to get better as a business owner, stop being a hobby with the hope. I'm maxed out on credit, things didn't go right. I need to learn where I could get a lot better. So 17, 18, I became a teacher in Lakewood High School, ironically business, because that was my background. And it's what I love to talk about. And then I was home every day at 2 o'clock, summers off, every major holiday off, and I used that 2 years to really improve my craft, my knowledge base. I read a book a week, went to business seminars, and then when we came back in 18, we said we really have to do this better. We're doing it better. So the transparency now, we're only back December 1st, this 18.
So you're like a little over a year and 2 months, something like that right now?
5 months.
5 months, a year and 5 months.
Because we came out December 1st, 2018, so it's April, so
Yeah.
5-6 months maybe.
So you're a baby, right? Your company's a baby.
As far as the new company is concerned, the way we
Yes.
structured it, so we formed a Delaware C Corp. I have 6 outside investors that have shares of stock in the company. I did everything differently, no more shoestring budgets, because being severely undercapitalized was a lesson I learned. Somebody gave me $200,000 and said, here's your rent the next few years. I didn't have to worry. No credit cards needed. Here's it. So having a few $100,000 in the bank helps when you're starting a new company. But it also gives you a level of accountability to say, shit, I mean, these people want to return. They just didn't give it to me to lose.
Yeah.
So you lose a lot of sleep at night about that too. Like
A
you
little bit
want
of
to do good, especially with, so all 4 first investors that gave me $240,000 were my best friends from Villanova University from 20 years ago. So for me, at that time, it really helped that I was building social relationships instead of worrying about profit margin, because 20 years later, I asked for help and they gave it to me. So in a big way. So that's where we're standing now. And as far as your level of transparency, we know that's going to be a problem, especially in the police and fire community where they're taught not to trust people, right? Like you could go to somebody in a car and they're thinking, all right, this son of a bitch could shoot me right now. So all of a sudden you're saying to the group of people, hey, I sell cigars and give $1 back. Yeah, where? Show us.
Yeah.
So I have an accountant, and we are going through the very costly process to certify the books at the end of the year, but because December was too new and we've given out that $4,500 very publicly, we're now going to go through the entire 2019, and in January of 2020 will be the first full year of accounting practices for us where we hire to actually have the books certified. So it's a little lengthier process and a more expensive process, and we're going to post those books online. And the next question people are going to have are, okay, well, he donated $20,000, but how do we know that that's all the cigars he sold? So we are also contemplating, even though we are a private company and have no reason to do so, we are probably going to go the same process for our private books as well to tell people exactly how many boxes of what cigars we sold at what prices so they can see.
So we know it's legit. Everything's legit.
It's absolutely going to be legit. And also, I have the 501c, the motorcycle ride nonprofit, and people in the police community. Lou Turiaga, the director, one of the directors of Los Angeles Police Protective League, he's on the board. Peter Andreev, New Jersey PBA Division of Pensions, he's on the board. B.J. McMullen, Pittsburgh PD Motor Unit Officer, he's on the board. If I screw this up, it's a couple tweets, an Instagram post, this guy's full of shit, don't trust him, we're done.
You're done.
So, done. So that's it. So I'm very, very comfortable with everything that we're doing.
Let's talk a little bit about the fun stuff. Let's talk about the cigar a little bit, like where it's made, wrapper, binder, filler, the box, and if I were to buy a box of the Los Caidos cigars, kind of how it comes in.
Wow, wrapper, binder, filler. Listen to you.
I did
Educated well, everybody. He learned from one of the best.
I did work in a cigar shop for a little bit. Not a long time.
And let me say this. The reason why I'm on the show today and I think we have a good relationship is because you worked your ass off. And I really appreciated it. When you talked to me about the operations, you could have spoken better than anybody on the operations because you were the one doing it. You were in there before me. You used to get pissed when I only showed up an hour early. You're like, Z, come on.
Maybe a little.
Yeah, maybe a little. Don't. So
the cigars are great. So to talk about Los Caidos, first of all, is Spanish for the fallen. We wanted to tilt our head traditionally to the Latino community for being in this industry and going through the struggles they did to make a life for themselves, their families, and the community. So the cigar industry is full of rich traditional history. We didn't want to shit on that. So we said our nod, our tip of the hat to them was naming the cigar in Spanish. We also wanted to honor our home folks who were going through a horrible situation, and we wanted to name it after to honor them. So we called it the Fallen. So Los Caidos is Spanish for the Fallen. And then in the cigar itself, the box, right now we did an 11-count box. We wanted to just focus on one core product. Again, something I learned from Jim Collins' book, Good to Great, the 3 circles, right? What are you passionate about? What can you be the best in the world at doing? And what drives your economic engine? So we wanted to meet new people, have fun, help others, create an 11-count box of cigars that's going to drive our economic engine so we could give back to families who need it. And I'm passionate about cigars. So that's Los Caidos, and in a box of 11, you have 10 round heads, 1 torpedo, which is a specially shaped cigar, and then 1 end of watch cigar. The 12th spot is always going to remain open. When you pull that torpedo, you're assuming that the person you're honoring is having one with you from upstairs. Then there's 10 cigars, the round ones that are left with 2 open spots, 1000 around me in Wall Township is the code for officer down. So that's how the cigar was created. It was the community, it was the policemen from Wall Township coming in, sitting down with me, Frank Lancelotti, and really the police community designed the cigar in the cigar box and the story. And I thought it was really appropriate because I lost my best friend, Chris Dinka, from Villanova University. He was 30 years old in the World Trade Center on 9/11. So every September 11th, regardless of when, where, I smoke a cigar in solitude, whether it's on my motorcycle, my backyard. This year I was in Scottsdale, Arizona for a memorial run with them and the folks out there. I'm always thinking of him. I will always. So the cigar really started out of that practice. And then when Chris Matlos was brutally murdered, Mark Castellano lost his life, on 195, horribly in a tragic murder. I said something had to be done, so it all just came together.
The cigars, for guys who don't like smoking cigars or don't smoke cigars, one of the things you kind of say when you and I talk is it's mild enough for anyone who wants to smoke a cigar,
Yes.
but also it's got enough punch in it for a guy who likes a full-bodied cigar.
You asked me that, I apologize. So Aganor Salif, for those people that don't know, is formerly Casa Fernandez. They make their own cigars. Eduardo Fernandez, the founder of the company, founded Telepizza in Spain with his brother, which is our version of Domino's. They sold it for $1 gazillion. He goes to Nicaragua and wants to get into agriculture. So he has tobacco fields, he has cattle, pork. He's got a lot of stuff going on. Well, he really knows his stuff with tobacco. So they come out with very, very highly ranked cigars. They're making cigars for other great people, Luzione, Viaje, Warped, El Nuise, and just very, very well respected in the industry. And with the Los Caidos cigar, we had to have the challenge because we do what's called Los Caidos Light Up. So every time you have one of our cigars in a crowded room, 20, 30, 40 people in an event, you light up, and then we take it, not a 2-minute moment of silence, but 2 minutes just to do whatever. So I've had some people call out, like, you son of a bitch, why'd you leave me so early? I loved you, man. Other people just, hey, they'll say a name with the end of watch date. So it's very, very touching. If you've never been to a Los Caidos Live event, it's really an experience like no other I've experienced in the cigar industry, and I want to make it special for them because that's the whole purpose of why we're doing it. So we had to have the challenge, Chris, of making the cigars so it's mild enough for the person that wants to partake in that ceremony. And they're very seldom cigar smokers, but they want to be there for that and they want to light up for that, and strong enough for the everyday cigar smoker like me, smoking 2 to 3 a day. And we think we absolutely nailed it. So it's 99 Corojo, a wrapper filler binder with 1 leaf of Criollo 98 Lajero, which gives it that little bit of a kick, bringing it from mild to medium bodied. So the everyday cigar smoker can enjoy it well without knocking the seldom cigar smoker on their ass. So we really think we nailed it. We're very, very excited about it.
I've heard nothing but positive reviews about it. So, I mean, I've smoked a couple of them, and I think it's a good cigar. I like it. I don't know what that means too much to the average guy out there, but I'm your mild cigar guy. I'm not a big. I don't need that kick in the stomach when I light up. That's not what I'm
He's
looking
telling
for.
the truth, folks.
Yeah,
He's telling the
I have
truth.
a mild palate, so that's what I'm into about that. I know you got a business meeting coming up, and you got to get out of here. Some goals for 2019. You know, you said your 6,000 boxes, and then you talked.
And listen, and pardon me, my business meeting can wait. This is very important to me. Your show is important to me. Don't cut it loose for my sake.
No, I know, but I know you got stuff to do.
Okay.
But I understand. You know, you have some goals for 2019 with the 6,000 boxes, and you also scheduled 18 rides this summer coming up.
Yeah, so what happened was we realized it's very hard to do paid advertising in Instagram and Facebook with their tobacco policies. So generally, you cannot pay to advertise the cigar, right? You can't bring them to a direct link that allows purchase of tobacco, at least from my understanding. That's one of those situations you ask for permission or ask for forgiveness instead of permission. I didn't want to mess around with that. And I love Harleys. I love the Harley Davidson community. I ride. I'll never do it again like I did in 16. I did 720 miles on average a day. I ended up doing a little over 7,700 miles in 13 days.
How sore were you after that?
It was, we don't talk about it. So I was on the bike about 12 to 15 hours a day, and it was nuts. Like I remember one time coming out of Vegas, I did a Kegs and Eggs in Los Angeles, a lunch and learn in San Diego, and I was at the Scottsdale concert at the Hideaway that night, all in one day. And I did that shit every day. It was nuts.
Hurricane Matthew coming through Georgia, they shut down I-195. Like the road going from Jersey to Florida shut down. I had to go out of my way 3 hours. It was just a mess. So now what I do is I go to the city on a Thursday night. We'll do a cigar shop event either Thursday, Friday, or for just Friday night. Saturday, I take local rides at a local Harley Davidson dealer or cigar shop parking lot like we're doing at Smokin' in Florida. That's one of the few in the FOP Lodge 5 in Philly. Those are the only 2 rides we're not doing out of a local Harley dealer. But I'll be in every major city, about 18 of them to 20 of them this year. And then that's all we do. But now, because Los Caidos is a sponsor of the registered 501c3 Life of Ride Time, so Life of Ride Time bylaws, we bet that's the board members, everything else I told about earlier. We have a specific purpose of raising money for family members of fallen police officers and firefighters. That's where our dollar per cigar goes. So with Los Caidos being a sponsor of the nonprofit, I can pay to advertise the nonprofit rides. So in essence, word is getting out about both the cigar company and the ride nonprofit. But the nonprofit started because Tom Collins, he is a former Green Bay Packer, guy with RBC Wealth Management. I was doing a Middlesex 200 Club golf outing, and he comes up and goes, dude, former athlete, still in shape, don't believe in cigars, never going to smoke one. But here's $1,000. I believe in what you're doing. How the hell, what do you do with that $1,000? Right? Ethically, I can't put it in a cigar company account because it wasn't for that. So I literally started life of a ride time with that $1,000 check. That's what prompted me to start this whole nonprofit. Is what the hell am I going to do with that $1,000 check? Almost, you know how they say void after 90 days or whatever. It stayed up like on my magnetic wall for almost that full 90 days because I had to go file the paperwork like that. The whole nonprofit started with his $1,000 check. So it was just very interesting, you know, and that really made me move fast on getting the nonprofit going. So we're very excited about it, and now we realize we have a great model like Relay for Life. You know, where I'm going to walk a few miles, but I could get Chris Opdyke and Ming Chen to donate $5 or $10 to support me. Now, instead of coming just as the $20 registrant, I also now represent $1,000 of fundraising through my team of supporters.
Sure.
That's what we're doing with the ride. So if Chris Opdyke wanted to come to Dallas May 4th as the first one, everybody in your family now could get on a web page and say, I support you, $5, $10, $15. Now you show up, it's not just $20, you represent 1,000. So that's our way. We're on a mission to $1 million. We want to give $1 million away to family members of fallen police officers and firefighters. And that new model, we just outsourced all of our fundraising platform activity. That's my next meeting, Salsa Labs, right? So they're a phenomenal platform for nonprofit fundraising. They allow peer-to-peer fundraising, the model about which I'm speaking, and we just are very, very happy to have them with us, and we're going to do some great things together this year. So yes, about 18 rides. First one's May 4th, last one's November 26th or something like that, right after Thanksgiving. Every major city you can imagine, and that's it.
You have one of the rides sponsored here in New Jersey?
August 24th. We're trying to set a Guinness Book of World Record. So there's going to be, right now we're starting at a Wall Stadium. We're going to go past 195 Mark Castellanos Highway Memorial. We're going to make a left at Great Adventure, go down 537, bang a left on 206. We're going to have lunch at Piccalilli's Inn, which is known for the wings and maybe a beer. Drink responsibly. And then we're going to come back on 70 and pass Bobby Tobias' site where he was killed in the 70s on Route 70. And then we're going to go down, make a right at the Wawa there, go down Lacey Road, make a left on Dover where the Ocean County prosecutor, Detective, I think Stevens, was killed. Single crash car years ago. And then we're going to go by the Berkeley Township Police Department where Allison Ray suffered a heart attack while on duty. And then we're going to end at the VFW post right past Central Regional High School, right on there. But that's going to be, I want everybody at that ride. That's my hometown. That's my backyard. I'm going to work my ass off to make sure we have a good event and raise a lot of money.
Where can they find out about that stuff online? Plug all your socials real quick.
Socials. So Los Caidos Cigars is on Insta, Facebook, all of them. Los Caidos Cigar or Cigars, look for it. Life of a Ride Time. I have to repeat that because we had a trademark infringement. I had to change the name again.
Something you learned.
Forgiveness, not permission.
Yeah.
So so it is Life of a Ride Time, and it's on every social, right? Facebook, Instagram, blah blah blah. Just please, I'd love it if you could check it out. And not much more to say. I just really appreciate everyone taking the time to listen. I hope that I was able to help you with if you're a business person listening to this, I want to be able to help. If you feel like you've heard everything I've said today, please reach out to me. It's steve@loscaidos.us. My name is Steve Zengel. I'm an open book. I'm very easy to find. Reach out to me, find me, and be like, dude, I knew everything you said on the show, but here's something I'd like to know. Ask me anything. It's all open. And I want to make sure that Christopher feels like he got tremendous value from having me on as a guest on the show today. So it doesn't end here. If there's anything you want to know, please reach out to me. I will absolutely take time to answer any questions you may have.
Steve, thanks so much for coming in today. I really appreciate it.
Chris, I am honored and humbled, again, with the previous guest list that you had. Ming Chen, thank you so much for the Death Wish coffee. You know, I was looking forward to it. I love it. Big news announcing, coming out, we'll tell you, but in addition to huge news for Los Caidos Cigar Company that I can't yet talk about, and you and I discussed this, and I appreciate you not really bringing it up. But the second huge piece of news is I do believe Los Caidos is going to be starting a podcast out of a private club. The address cannot be mentioned, but I believe, Ming Chen, you're going to be doing. Are you mic'd up? Can you talk right now? Can people hear you?
Yeah, talk, Ming. Don't be afraid.
Ming, get out of here.
Hi, everybody. Yes, I'm very excited to be entering this new venture in a secret location involving Los Caidos Cigars and Steve Zengel. And I visited the location a couple months ago, and I'm very excited about this.
Like, look, I'm getting goosebumps, man. I'm not kidding. I am really getting goosebumps. Like, what I loved about it, it was really private, and we can't talk about it. And you know, we did a site location setup, and we're turning, you know, we're like, all right, we'd have to cover this up, we'd have to cover that up, and it's not private in the sense it's bad or risque. It's just
No.
it's a really good thing we don't want to lose.
Yeah, exactly.
And
It's like a good fishing spot.
it's
exactly.
it's
Yep.
like a good
Yeah.
fishing spot.
Or your favorite dive bar or something. Yeah, you don't want to be overrun by people. So yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah,
It'll
so
be
I'm
great.
really, really excited. And let me tell you, folks, I don't care what show it is, the Shared Universe Podcast Studio. If you are thinking about doing a podcast, which I did, just so you know, go look Jersey Ties up. I had every major NBA player on, the Hall of Fame coaches, Jack Ford, Billy Iwanek, producer with Thunder Road Predictors, just came out with John Wick 3. I've had them all on, NBA coaches. I'm telling you, this, if I had known about Shared Universe Podcast, I would have had them do Jersey Ties hands down, without a question. And it was, how easy was that decision when I met you to say, bro, we got to do something together over at this spot?
No, it was immediate. So,
It was immediate,
it was
right?
immediate, yeah.
Within seconds of seeing this place, I was like, yo, Ming, we got to work together. What are we doing?
When you know, you know.
When
So,
you
yeah.
know, you know. So everybody just, I'm announcing today, mark my word, and you know I like to follow through on the shit that I say I'm going to do. I rarely don't, right? You will be having a Los Caidos cigar podcast within 2 months of today. It's coming. Get ready. But Chris, thank you so much for having me. This is amazing. Your show was awesome, and I've learned so much from your guests. So
Thanks,
thank
Steve. I
you.
appreciate it. I appreciate it.